we need to have a hard conversation about the New Orleans Saints. For Saints fans, it's a sad conversation. It's very emotional for them. In the NFC Championship game, the Saints got screwed. We can all admit that. I think it's true. There was a pass interference play that was made. The defender for the Rams committed pass interference, and there was no flag thrown. The penalty wasn't called. And it was blatant. It was obvious. And that if that flag had been thrown, if that call had been made, the Saints would have been given a first down in the red zone, had a chance to run out the clock fully and kick a field goal. Probably they'd be in the Super Bowl. I mean, here are some facts we need to say is that call likely cost the Saints quarterback Drew Brees another shot at a Super Bowl. And if that call had been made, the Saints would be in the Super Bowl right now. It's like 99.9% guaranteed. That's the truth. It's interesting, Nickel Roby-Coleman, the guy who committed the penalty for the Rams, that wasn't called, by the way, has been fined by the NFL for a helmet-to-helmet hit. And he came out and said, look, I got beat. And of course I committed the penalty. I was beat. I had to do something. I couldn't let the guy just catch the ball. When you add those facts together, man, it's hard to swallow for a Saints fan. I can't imagine. I guarantee they feel screwed out of a Super Bowl opportunity, and I don't blame them at all. Now, well, on one hand, I can recognize there's factual statements about that hurt the Saints. They feel very pained. They are sad that they missed out on a chance for the Super Bowl. I can't help but notice a couple other facts that matter and are important. Is that even if the flag was thrown, it would have given the Saints a first down. They'd still have to either run in for a touchdown or kick a field goal, and that's not guaranteed. They could have been stopped. Maybe they missed a chip shot field goal. But even more than that, look, I acknowledge the Saints got screwed, but the Saints still had chances to win the game against the Rams in the NFC Championship game. You can't acknowledge, look, you can say terrible missed call, but the game goes on, and as the game went on, the Saints had two opportunities to win that game, and they blew it. First of all, it's weird. We deduce football games down to one play, one call, one thing. It's never that. It's a whole sequence of events that lead up to what happens, that lead up to the final score. And while you can argue all day that, yes, that call should have been made, it had a huge impact on the game, it probably kept the Saints out of the Super Bowl, you can still say that, well, the Rams got the ball with 1:41 left on their own 25-yard line, which means the Saints were up 3 points. The Rams had to drive 75 yards, and the Saints were on defense with a chance to stop the Rams and win the game. They didn't stop the Rams. The Rams kicked a field goal. They went to overtime. Hey, that's the first chance the Saints had to win the game, and they blew it. They still, whether the call was made or not, they had the lead with 2 minutes left, and the Rams had to drive all the way down the field. The Saints couldn't stop them. But even more than that, the Saints got the ball first in overtime. This is what we all forget. We all talk about the call, the missed pass interference. I understand the pain, the emotion that comes from Saints fans when they say that. But never forget, the Saints had the ball first in overtime. The Saints threw an interception. It's sad and it's painful, but that's the second time the Saints had an opportunity to close that game out, and they blew it. All the Saints had to do was go down the field, score a touchdown, ball game. They're going to the Super Bowl. And so again, I understand why everyone feels screwed over if you're a Saints fan. I feel bad for you. I feel very sad. I'm sad. Drew Brees is my favorite quarterback of all time. Him and Tom Brady. But the uncomfortable truth is that the Saints had, after that call was missed, the Saints still had two opportunities to seal the deal and win that game, and they could not. And so I feel bad for the Saints. I feel bad for Saints fans. I know they feel screwed over. I understand why they feel screwed over. But it is also important to acknowledge it's not like that just ended the game right there. There were still opportunities for the Saints to close out that game against the Rams, and they didn't. Oh, I hate doing this. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I really don't like self-promotion. It makes me feel like a used car salesman, but I got to do it. So if you don't know, this is my podcast, Strong Opinion Sports. It's my favorite thing in the world. And you can subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud. You can find it on YouTube. You can find the full entire hour-long podcast on YouTube. You can also find shorter breakout clips like the one you just watched. Please do me a favor. If you like anything I had to say, maybe you hate me and you're mad about something, share this podcast with your friends. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want to do. Help me grow by telling your friends about this show.